Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. This Saturday is UFC 275, and in the co-main event, we have a women's flyweight title fight between Valentina Shevchenko and Taila Santos, and this is going to be my full breakdown and prediction for this fight. I've already done a full breakdown and prediction for the main event of UFC 275, which is Glover Teixeira versus Yuri Prochazka. I will link that down in the description as well as the end cards, but I will also be doing a prediction video for Weili Zhang versus Joanna Jacek. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss that. So this is a fight where you have a dominant champion in Valentina Shevchenko versus Taila Santos, who really maybe necessarily isn't the most deserving contender, but she basically gets it by default. You know, she's more deserving than anybody else at this point. Valentina has cleared out the division. And what I mean by that is typically you would have to do a lot more within the division to earn a title shot in any of these other weight classes. But Taila Santos basically gets pushed along. Maybe she should have had more time to work her way to Valentina Shevchenko. But because of the lack of the depth, because of the dominant champion Valentina Shevchenko is, Taila Santos gets thrown into a title fight. And I know a lot of people are wondering, could this be another Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena? Could Taila Santos come out and shock the world and beat Valentina Shevchenko, dethrone her, and we get a new women's flyweight champion for the first time in however many years since the flyweight title has even, originated within the UFC? So if you look at the tail of the tape for this fight, you have Valentina Shevchenko, who is 34 years old. You have Taila Santos, who's 28 years old. Valentina Shevchenko is 5'5". Taila Santos is 5'6". Valentina Shevchenko has a 65-inch reach, and Taila Santos has a 68-inch reach. So a little bit of a reach advantage, a little bit of a height advantage for Taila Santos. So if you look at Valentina Shevchenko, you could make an argument that she only has one real loss on her MMA record. I know that's not true, and that's a bit of an exaggeration, but she lost to Liz Carmouche by TKO via doctor stoppage back in 2010. I mean, that's a completely different fighter back in 2010. And since then, she's only lost to Amanda Nunes. She lost to Amanda Nunes by decision back at UFC 196. Very close fight, could have won either way. And then she lost in a title fight to Amanda Nunes back at UFC 215 via split decision in a fight that was very close, and I personally scored it for Valentina Shevchenko, and a lot of people scored it for Valentina Shevchenko. You look at some of her other wins. She has a dominant win over Joanna Jacek, who is a contender in the 115-pound division. She slaughtered Jessica Eye back at UFC 238, head kick KO'd her in the second round. She avenged her loss against Liz Carmouche. She has a TKO win over Katlyn Chookagian, which is a very solid win. And that was only back in February of 2020. Look at the streak Katlyn Chookagian has gone on since then. Jennifer Maia at UFC 255, she beat her. That was probably the fight that she had the most trouble with for whatever reason. And then since that Jennifer Maia win, her two most recent wins were against Jessica Andrade, who moved up from strawweight to challenger after one win. I think Jessica Andrade beat Katlyn Chookagian and then challenged for a belt, and she TKO'd her in the second round. Jessica Andrade is a very good fighter. She has a chance to make a second run in the women's strawweight division, become champion again, and she had absolutely nothing to offer for Valentina Shevchenko. Valentina Shevchenko was able to dominate her in the grappling, eventually get her in a crucifix, and finish her with elbows. And that was only back in April of last year, and Jessica Andrade, was back on the winning path, could potentially fight for a title at strawweight very, very soon. And her most recent win was at UFC 266 against Lauren Murphy, where she defeated her in the fourth round via TKO. And basically, she picked Lauren Murphy apart for 4 rounds, eventually clipping her, getting her to the ground, and finishing her off with ground and pound. It was brutal ground and pound. The fight wasn't all that super impressive, but I think a lot of people thought that Valentina Shevchenko would finish Lauren Murphy earlier than she did, but at the end of the day, she still went out there and finished her. Now, when you look at Taila Santos, the level of competition between Valentina Shevchenko and Taila Santos, the level of competition that they've faced is absolutely night and day. I mean, Taila Santos' last win was against Joanne Wood. People act like Joanne Wood, and I keep wanting to say Calder Wood because that was her name before she got married, act like she is so good. She isn't that good. And Taila Santos went out there and made her look like she wasn't that good. Clipped her up on the feet, got her to the ground, started ground and pounding her, then looked for the submission. Eventually found the rear naked choke after Joanne Wood fought it off a couple times. Finished her in the first round. It's a decent win. The win before that, a unanimous decision win against Roxanne Modafferi. Come on now, and that's September of last year. That's fairly recent. A win over Jillian Robertson by decision. Not all that impressive. Just dominated her in the grappling. Avoided submissions the whole entire fight. She also has a win over Molly McCann via unanimous decision. Won that fight with her clinch work and her grappling. And then before that, she has a loss against Myra Romero Borello via split decision. I know it was a close fight, and I don't remember this one too clearly. But, you're losing to her. And since that fight, after beating Taila Santos, Myra went on a 4-fight losing streak. She lost via TKO to Lauren Murphy. She lost via decision to Montana De La Rosa. She lost via submission to Courtney Casey. And then she lost via submission against Myra Bueno Silva. 4-fight losing streak, no longer in the UFC. And Taila Santos just lost to her in February of 2019. Not all that long ago. Which is just crazy to me. And as far as UFC fights, she doesn't have that many UFC fights. She has 5 UFC fights, 6 if you include Dana White Contender Series. But I do believe that Taila Santos is a tougher challenge than Lauren Murphy. I would say maybe even a tougher challenge than Jessica Andrade just because of size-wise. I think she's a tougher challenge than Jennifer Maia. Probably not a tougher challenge than Caitlin Chukagian. But does Taila Santos get the job done against Valentina Shevchenko? I see only one path to victory. Taila Santos is very athletic, and she does have some decent power in her hands. She is going to have to clip Valentina Shevchenko, hurt her badly, and finish her off with ground and pound, or put her out completely. And I just don't see that happening. Maybe, and just maybe, just by laws of statistics, Valentina Shevchenko is eventually going to have to lose. And when you're so dominant for so long and you just continue to win and win and win and win and not really have a lot of trouble with it, eventually you're going to lose motivation. And I talked about this after the Amanda Nunes-Juliana Pena fight and even before it. There is a chance that Valentina Shevchenko has bought her own hype now, and maybe she doesn't take training as seriously. I'm not saying I think this is the case. And then she goes out there against Taila Santos, who she's vastly underestimated. And then Taila Santos goes out there and pulls off an upset victory. That's how crazy upsets like that happen in MMA. But I don't see that happening. I am going to go Valentina Shevchenko via decision. I think Taila Santos is just going to be in there, absorb damage. I think she's going to land some shots of her own. I think it's going to be competitive until it's not. I think as the rounds go on, the later the fight goes, I think Valentina Shevchenko is just going to be chopping her legs, kicking her body, beating her up with punches, mixing in the clinch. And I'm interested in the clinch battle in this fight because Taila Santos is very strong in the clinch. She has some good takedowns, but she's not taking Valentina Shevchenko down and controlling her on the ground, I don't think. Maybe that's a path to victory, but I highly doubt that. Taila Santos was almost caught in a few submissions by Jillian Robertson, so it wouldn't surprise me if Shevchenko catches her off balance in the clinch, takes her down, and then eventually submits her. I could see that as a path to victory. I could also see Valentina Shevchenko finishing her via TKO, maybe clips her with a nasty head kick. But I think this is just going to be a tough fight where the early rounds are kind of competitive, but Valentina Shevchenko is winning. She's kicking to the body, she's chopping the legs. Taila Santos is throwing power shots, but Valentina Shevchenko is getting out of the way. She's throwing deep kicks to the body to manage the distance. And I think as the fight goes on, Taila Santos is going to slow down, and then Valentina Shevchenko is really just going to start busting her up and busting her up and busting her up and take all the, probably the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. Take them fairly handedly after the first 2, or maybe close. And I think if Taila Santos does not clip her in that 1st or 2nd round, put her down, do something to change the fight, then I think I just don't really see her having a path to victory in this fight after the 2nd round. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. We'll see. If Valentina Shevchenko was to lose her belt to Taila Santos, that would be absolutely insane. But again, I think Taila Santos has the best chance to beat Valentina Shevchenko since Caitlin Chukagian, in my opinion. Taila Santos is very strong, has power, good in the clinch. She's very well-rounded, But again, she has never fought elite competition. Nobody even close to the skill level that Valentina Shevchenko is on. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who's going to win this fight? Is anybody picking Taila Santos via upset? Speak now or forever just keep silent, because I'm not going to believe you after the fight. Don't forget to like the video, and thank you so much for watching.